Some people look strong at 22, not because life was easy for them, but because life forced them to grow up too early. Scarlett was only 23 years old, but the exhaustion in her eyes looked older. Not physically. Emotionally. The kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying too much for too long. She lived in a tiny apartment near downtown Chicago while balancing college classes, a part-time cafe job, unpaid internships, and family responsibilities all at once. Most people her age spent weekends partying, traveling, or figuring themselves out. Scarlett spent hers trying not to fall apart. Every morning started the same way. Alarm at 5:40 a.m. cold floor against tired feet. Coffee she barely tasted. And the same heavy thought sitting inside her chest, just survive today. Nobody around her realized how lonely she actually felt. On social media she looked fine. She posted sunsets. Coffee pictures. Smiling mirror selfies. Short captions pretending life felt exciting. But behind every post was a girl emotionally drowning in silence. Strong young people often suffer quietly because everyone assumes they're handling life better than they really are. Scarlett became the strong one at 19 after her parents separated back in Seattle. Her mother emotionally collapsed for months. Her younger brother became distant and angry. Bills piled up across the kitchen counter while tension filled the house every day. So Scarlett stepped into survival mode immediately. She got a job after classes. Started helping financially. Became emotionally available for everyone. And somewhere during all that chaos, she stopped being a normal teenager. While her friends stressed about parties and relationships, Scarlett stressed about rent, groceries, and whether her mother was secretly crying at night again. People praised her maturity constantly. "You're so strong for your age. You handle pressure so well. You're so independent." But nobody understood the truth behind that strength. Trauma forced it. Responsibility built it. Loneliness maintained it. By 23, Scarlett no longer knew how to emotionally depend on anyone. Asking for help felt unnatural, weak even. One rainy evening after work, Scarlett sat alone on a late-night train heading home while exhausted strangers stared silently at their phones around her. Outside the windows, Chicago lights blurred through rainwater. Inside her headphones, soft music played quietly while her mind spiraled endlessly. Tuition payments. Family problems. Future anxiety. Fear of failure. Fear of disappointing everyone. Fear that nobody truly cared about her beyond what she could provide. That thought hurt the most. Because deep down, Scarlett started believing people only valued her when she was useful. The supportive friend. The reliable daughter. The responsible older sister. The emotionally strong girl. But what happened when she finally got tired? Would anyone stay for her then? When Scarlett reached her apartment that night, she sat on the floor beside her bed still wearing her soaked hoodie. The room felt painfully silent. Her phone showed notifications from people needing things. Advice. Favors. Help. But not one message asking, "How are you really doing?" And suddenly the loneliness hit harder than usual. Tears rolled slowly down her face while rain tapped softly against windows nearby. At 23 years old, Scarlett felt emotionally invisible. Not unloved. Invisible. There's a difference. The next morning she forced herself through another exhausting day at the cafe where she worked between college classes. Customers came and went endlessly while Scarlett smiled automatically through every interaction. "Good morning. Have a nice day. Your order will be ready soon." Fake energy became part of her survival routine. Around noon, a guy named Ethan walked into the cafe. Scarlett recognized him immediately because he usually came in twice a week carrying textbooks and old headphones around his neck. Quiet personality. Calm eyes. Simple clothes. Unlike most people, Ethan never acted rushed by life. That day Scarlett accidentally dropped a cup while taking his order. Coffee spilled across the counter. Embarrassed, she apologized quickly. "Sorry. I'm just tired." Ethan looked at her carefully for a second. "You don't have to apologize for being human." Such a simple sentence. But Scarlett felt something inside her pause. Most people responded to mistakes with annoyance. Ethan responded with understanding. For some reason, that affected her deeply. Over the next few weeks, Ethan continued visiting the cafe. Small conversations slowly became longer ones. Music. Movies. Childhood memories. Dreams. Stress. Nothing forced. Nothing fake. And slowly Scarlett realized something strange. She felt emotionally calm around him. Not because he solved her problems. Because she didn't feel pressured to pretend. One evening after her shift ended, Ethan noticed Scarlett sitting alone outside the cafe staring blankly at traffic moving through downtown streets. "You okay?" he asked gently. Automatically Scarlett gave the same answer she always used. "Yeah, I'm fine." Ethan sat beside her quietly. "You know," he said softly, "the people who say that the most are usually struggling the hardest." Scarlett looked away immediately because tears almost formed instantly. How could someone she barely knew see through her so easily? For years Scarlett perfected her mask carefully. Smile. Stay useful. Stay calm. Never burden anyone. But emotionally strong people become fragile eventually when they carry pain alone too long. That night Scarlett walked home through cold city streets thinking about Ethan's words repeatedly. And for the first time in years, she admitted something honestly to herself. She was lonely. Not because she had nobody around her. Because nobody truly knew her anymore. Nobody knew how anxious she felt constantly. Nobody knew she cried quietly some nights from exhaustion. Nobody knew she felt emotionally lost despite appearing responsible. Nobody knew how badly she wanted someone to simply ask, "You don't have to be strong today, okay?" A few nights later Scarlett experienced a complete emotional breakdown while studying for exams. Textbooks covered her bed. Coffee cups surrounded her desk. Bills sat unopened nearby. And suddenly her chest tightened painfully. Breathing became difficult. Tears started uncontrollably. Everything felt overwhelming at once. Pressure. Fear. Loneliness. Responsibility. She curled up on the floor beside her bed shaking silently while trying not to panic. And in that terrifying moment, Scarlett realized something heartbreaking. She spent so many years surviving for everyone else that she completely abandoned herself. After nearly an hour, her phone buzzed. It was Ethan. "Just checking if you made it home okay." Scarlett stared at the message for a long moment. Then finally, for the first time in years, she told someone the truth. "I'm not okay." 3 words. That's all. But sometimes honesty becomes the first step toward healing. Ethan called immediately. He stayed on the phone quietly while Scarlett cried harder than she had in years. Not judging. Not interrupting. Not trying to sound perfect. Just listening. And strangely, that simple moment meant more to Scarlett than grand gestures ever could. Because lonely strong people don't always need solutions. Sometimes they just need someone willing to stay while they fall apart. Weeks passed, and slowly Scarlett began changing. Not dramatically. Quietly. She stopped pretending she could handle everything alone. She started setting boundaries. Started saying no without guilt. Started admitting when she felt overwhelmed. And although some people disappeared once she stopped being endlessly available, something unexpected happened too. Real connections finally entered her life. One late evening Scarlett sat beside Lake Michigan while cold wind moved across dark water beneath glowing city lights. At 23 years old, she still didn't have life fully figured out. She still struggled. Still overthought. still carried emotional scars from growing up too fast. But for the first time in years, she no longer felt completely alone inside her own mind. Because she finally understood something powerful: strong people are not people who never break. Strong people are the ones who keep going even after life breaks them quietly over and over again. And sometimes the strongest thing a young person can do is finally admit they're tired. Behind every emotionally strong young person is usually a younger version of them that had to survive things alone too early. So if someone seems strong all the time, check on them gently, because strength can hide an unbelievable amount of pain.